My name is Nerilee Boshammer and I'm running as the lower house candidate for the Warren-Blackwood seat.
Could you describe what that area is, what it covers in terms of landscape and environment?
It covers pretty much everything. It's a very diverse seat. It's large both in landscape and it's very varied in land use, community complexities, social networks, all those sorts of things. It's very diverse, but basically it runs from Denmark in the south coast up through Boyup Mann in the western wheat belt, and then up to Donnybrook, and then across down to Margaret River, and takes in basically everything in between. So it's quite a large area.
You have a background in natural resource management. What sort of natural resource management issues are there for people who are wanting to make a living and enjoy a special environment in the southwest?
Oh, look, whether you're a climate change skeptic or whether you are someone who believes in that it is happening, there's no doubt that the southwest climate is changing. It's not just changing on a gradual scale either. The number of extreme weather events we've been having in the last few years has just gone up astronomically. We've gone from heat waves to cool snaps in even this. If you look at this summer, the impact that it's having on potentially on the wine industry, on the horticultural industry, and all those sorts of things. Not to mention, the cropping industry with all of this extreme weather we've had in the summer period. It's really impacting on farmers, and it's impacting on small to medium producers, and then that impacts on the supply chain, which will end up impacting on people's hip pockets when it gets to the supermarket. Whether you buy organically from the small local grocer or whether you buy from Woolworths, it's going to have an impact. So what I'm very keen on doing is working with local producers, local communities, local governments to build strategies for us to better cope with these sorts of climatic changes.
In terms of soil, what vision do you have for arresting problems of salt and acidification in the southwest?
They're massive issues, and salinity and waterlogging in particular has been something that has been left off the state and federal government agenda for quite a while. I think largely because it is such a massive problem. I think that more needs to be done in this area, and we need to be working with particularly large-scale landholders out in the wheat belt in particular to arrest and harness surface water up in the landscape, and to support them in initiatives to do so. Support them in initiatives to have perennial pasture systems as opposed to annual pasture systems that use more water and take it out of the groundwater, and then combat those impacts. So salinity, I think, is an area where we've got lots of scope to do a lot of positive things with landholders in the southwest. And in the Warren-Blackwood in particular. And acidification is something that it's an alarming issue when you look at the statistics in the areas that it is an issue, like the Scott River, the Hardy Inlet, those sorts of things. The acid content in the Scott River is really, really scary, and what we'd like to do is be able to work with particularly dairy and cattle farmers in those areas to assist them to come up with land use strategies that will, I suppose, assist in arresting and hopefully reversing those trends.
Margaret River has recently had a stay for 2 years on coal mining. There's been no legislative protection, but are you satisfied that coal mining is going to stop in the Margaret River region in the years ahead?
No, I think nowhere is safe from mining, essentially. I mean, Barrow Island's a pretty good indication of the fact that if you can mine in Barrow Island, then you can mine just about anywhere. No, I think that it is a constant threat, and I think we need to be vigilant, and we need to make sure that the community is aware that they need to keep the pressure on. And if they're high-value agricultural land, and if they're high-value vegetation systems, and their tourism industries and their local fabric mean a lot to them, then they need to make sure that they just keep themselves aware and educated on these issues. And we're not safe from mining, not until legislative changes can be made that will align the mining legislation better with local town.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about the environment in the southwest that we haven't covered?
I suppose, well, on a positive note, I'd like to say that I am fortunate enough to live in one of the most beautiful areas of the world, and I think that in of itself warrants us doing all we can to protect it, whether it's our beautiful coastlines and making sure that people recreate there responsibly, don't catch undersized fish. Make sure you stick to four-wheel drive tracks if you are going to use beaches, and just have some respect for that beautiful environment you want to enjoy. Right through to our magnificent old-growth forest that we again do need to be vigilant in the protection of. I do believe that we need to conserve industries like our fine furniture, jarrah and carry industries, absolutely, and apiarists and those sorts of things depend on our forests for a living. But if we continue to allow clear felling in particular our old-growth forests, we're going to be in trouble, and we need to make sure we preserve these areas not just for their conservation value, but also for their tourism.
And could you say something about threatened species in the southwest?
Shh. I will in a second.
Could you say something about threatened species in the southwest area?
Absolutely. There's too many of them. It's quite scary. I think what we need to do is harness the fact that the southwest is a biodiversity hotspot and really educate people on what that means. It means that yes, we do have high rates of endemism and some really diverse flora and fauna in our area, but it also means that it's one of the most at-threat ecosystems internationally. So we really need to, I think, educate people about how many special species we do have in this area, whether it's the ringtail possum in Bustleton or whether it's the Carnaby's cockatoo, which is at the moment flying around constantly searching for food in a landscape that can't quite support it. So there's so many special species out there that I think people can really relate to, and I think if people knew how close we are to losing species like the numbat, they'd be really scared. I don't think that is out in the public arena enough, and I think we need to better publicise the fact that we've got special biodiversity that we need to protect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.